All right. Greetings, fellow consumers. I hope you've all been remembering to obey and consume and buy, and remember to get married and reproduce. It's the drinker here, your overlord, who's who's coming with you with another movie tonight. We're going to be talking about They Live, an absolute brilliant John Carpenter classic from 1988, starring the one and only Rowdy Roddy Piper. What a hell of a movie! And I'm joined tonight by basically one of the subscribers who just got in touch with me, and he wanted to talk about this film, and we were lucky enough to have this night when our schedules matched up. And here he is. His name is CainCrow. So how the hell are you doing, man?
Excellent. And I really, again, I already said this, but I really appreciate it, drinker, that you'd let somebody that's kind of new and take a chance instead of being like, not a chance, man. I'm the critical drinker. You're nobody. Get out.
No, it's great. It's nice to be able to do this and bring in different people and stuff. And as nice as it is to to do it with other content creators and stuff. Sometimes it's nice to just bring subscribers and things in and get a chance to talk to them about it. And it's usually movies that they're really passionate about as well. So that always makes it more fun. And I know you, having talked to you, like you've really got an enjoyment of They Live and a real appreciation for it. And I see the Blu-ray in the background there, so perfect.
I thought I'd do that for everybody. The sunglasses too, but I can't have them on and read my notes. So
yeah.
that was for the chat, because you can't They Live without sunglasses.
Yeah, it's. I should have had mine on. Damn it! I had it for the drinkers open bar, and now it's like once I lose the suit, then I've lost the sunglasses. It's gone.
So there's a question for you. Do I lose any credit if I'm using flavored whiskey?
No, well, I think you're all right there. What's the flavor?
Cinnamon.
Ah, okay.
Some cinnamon whiskey in a Dr. Pepper.
Okay. That's not something I've ever had. I've never had cinnamon flavored whiskey before.
Do you have Mexican food in Scotland?
Yeah.
Cinnamon whiskey in horchata is amazing.
Really?
Oh, it's delicious.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'll need to keep that one in mind, yeah. But cool. No, we'll make do without the glasses for now, I guess. And yeah, you enjoy your whiskey, man. I'm just on the Jack tonight, so I'm keeping it cheap.
Jack is good, though. Jack is good.
Yeah, but yeah. So They Live. I mean, damn. John Carpenter is one of those guys. Like, it seems like every movie he made back in the day kind of flopped at the time and didn't get any recognition. And it's only over the years that they gradually amassed this cult following, and people, begin to reassess them and see them as in a whole new light. And it's happened to so many of them, and it definitely happened with They Live. And yeah, it just rewatching it, you really appreciate just how fun this movie is. Like, it never takes itself too seriously, and you've got a great cast. You've got Roddy Piper, you've got Keith David, man, just great actors that play well off each other.
And I watched some audio commentary and some behind the scenes stuff for this as well. Both John Carpenter and Keith David talked about how helpful Roddy Piper was with the fight scenes. They had a stunt coordinator, but Roddy Piper, because Keith David is a boxer, and they wanted it to be kind of a wider fight, so they helped. And in that fight scene, I could have waited till the fight scene, I guess, but in the fight scene, they land a lot of the body blows. The face punches and the groin punches, not so much, but the body blows are at least wrestling real. They're pulled, but they're really hitting each other for those body blows and stuff towards the end.
I mean, yeah, like I was going to say this, because this movie's about 90 minutes long, and I think about half of it is given over to that fist fight about halfway through the film. It's just beautiful.
John says the studio tried to get him to cut it down, especially the slow parts between the fights, and he's like, no. And I think it's brilliant, because the best part is them catching their breath and them hurting and them going, holy crap, they just got DDT'd on it, or suplexed onto the concrete. I'm going to need a minute. Yeah. I'm not jumping to my feet to continue this fight.
I mean, what I love about that fight as well is that they're fighting over something so petty. It's not like two guys who've got like this lifelong grudge against each other. It's just like one's pissed off at the other, one's trying to convince them to wear these sunglasses so he's going to see the world as it really is, and he's just refusing to do it. And fuck me, like I think after being body slammed and knocked out like 3 times by Roddy Piper, I would just humor him and be like, yeah, you know what, man, I'm going to put them on. But Keith David, man, he's fucking determined he's not putting these glasses on.
One of the best shots is they talked about the strength of Roddy Piper, and there's a great behind the scenes where Roddy Piper is just holding Keith David upside down, just holding while they get everything ready, and Keith David's looking around at the director, and he's just sitting there holding that giant man, and then they're like, action, bam, and it's like, how strong do you have to be to just hold somebody until it's time?
I mean, that's the thing. Like, obviously, Piper comes from their wrestling background, and you see him in this movie a couple of times. I think he's shirtless, and he's a big dude. Like, he's properly massive, and it's weird because, like, I don't remember him being that big as a wrestler. I always thought he was kind of out of shape and tubby, but yeah, you see him in this movie, he is jacked. I don't know if he just got in shape specifically for this film or what.
He did. He said he got a lot of flack that there were rumors that John Carpenter did some CGI getting his head on another person's body and whatnot. And he's like, because I was softer. I didn't have the giant pecs and flat stomach. I was a large man, but he said, but we worked out for 4 months to look good for this movie. And people, because he was one of the smaller wrestlers, and he wasn't ever completely jacked in WWE until after this movie.
Yeah. You can definitely see the difference in him. I love this conspiracy theory that they CGI'd his head onto someone's body in 1988 on a $3 million budget. Yeah, sure, of course.
Yeah, when it cost him $12,000 just to run a train by at the beginning, that they had extra money to do that, or the capabilities.
Yeah, I mean this was well after Carpenter had kind of abandoned the studio system, isn't it?
Yes,
like he had very much moved on to doing independent kind of movies.
Yeah,
and this is one of them. And so the result is, his movies were generally low budget, and quite often that worked to his advantage. It forced him to be more resourceful. It forced him to improvise quite a bit. And you see that in this film. None of it's sophisticated. There's no like great special effects on display here, but it works in the context of the film, I think.
Yeah. Well, speaking of making things work, the stunt coordinator, Jeff Inada, is almost every single ghoul in this movie. He's the woman, he's the cop, he's the politician. He's almost every single one of them.
It's like they just put that makeup on one person and just put them in different outfits, different wigs and stuff.
Pretty much. Well, like Roddy Piper says, hey, if you've got 14 black belts, you can wear pumps and a wig.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, when you see that makeup on them, and it's really bizarre stuff. I don't know how they dreamed this up, but it's basically like a human face that's had all the flesh stripped off it. So it's like a skull with the eyeballs like popping out, and, the teeth are bared. It looked really bizarre, and like that's what they obviously thought. Let's make it as creepy looking as possible.
Well, I guess I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, maybe they just didn't have the budget for doing that kind of makeup on like dozens of people, I guess.
Probably. I guess the reason he went for that look, because I always kind of disliked the look, and it does hit you today that the graphics are a little bad, but the story's so good it doesn't matter. Yeah. But what Carpenter wanted, because in the original story, they're like gelatinous blobs with multiple eyes and tentacles. They're not humanoid at all, and he wanted to change that. But he said because they are, I forget how he put that, but because they're corrupting mankind, he wanted them to look like corrupted humans.
Right, okay.
And that's why they went with something kind of zombie-ish, like you said. But that's why he wanted humanoid, but really distorted, because that's what they're doing, is they're distorting the human race.
No, that makes sense. People. I'll talk about the Matrix after we've discussed They Live. I don't know if you've seen the trailer for it, but I have. Share my thoughts.
I felt like I'm like one of the few people that's not super excited. It's like he wouldn't cut his hair.
You're not alone, man. Okay. You're not alone.
I was like, so he's not going to cut his hair because he's got John Wick 4 coming up, so he's just going to do this real quick and go back. And I'm like,
that's kind of what it feels like, because I did wonder, like, is Keanu going to try and make himself look like he did in the original Matrix, like clean shaven and short hair, and he just went, nah, fuck it. I'm just going in with my beard and my long hair. Fuck. That'll do. But yeah, I'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, we'll talk a little bit about They Live first of all. So yeah, I mean, it's not a complex story.
No.
this movie. And like I say, it's a short film, 90 minutes in and out, like no fucking around.
And about 30 minutes till it gets there. It's a slow burn.
A lot of it is just setup. Roddy Piper comes into town. He's just a drifter. I don't think you even get the character's name. No one ever calls him by his name.
No. And they did that on purpose because they wanted him to be nobody, and therefore everybody or anybody. And you don't hear his name. It's only in the credits.
Yeah, so he's very much an everyman. So fuck it, I'm just going to call him Roddy Piper from now on. He kind of rolls into town. He's a drifter. He's looking for work. I think he gets some work on a construction site. And that's when he bumps into Keith David, who's just a worker there. It seems like it's you get the sense that this is a world where jobs are scarce. I think they mention a few times like all the factories are closing down, people are out of work. And so, everyone's it's like the Depression, basically. People are just drifting from town to town looking for jobs.
And you get that with the city worker who's really not in any big hurry to help this man find a job. He's not asking for a handout. He's not asking for everything to be given. He's asking for a job. He's got his own tools, and she's just rolling her eyes, and she's like, "Why are you bothering me?" And it's like, "That's your job, lady." And so he ends up finding the job, like you said, on his own, because people aren't interested in helping each other.
Yeah, they're literally just he has to go out there and just fight. He goes to the foreman of a construction site. He's like, "Look, I can start right now. I've got I've got my own tools. I'm a tradesman, and that's what gets him in." People pointed out, so his character's kind of referred to as nada, I think, in the script more than anything. So it's nothing in Spanish. So that's kind of what he is. Like, he's a blank slate. But so he, you see him working away, and obviously it's Roddy Piper, so he's absolutely jacked and he's massive. Right. And you see Keith David looking over at him like, fuck, he's working harder than me, he's stronger than me. And he kind of redoubles his efforts to try and work harder and compete with him. But he does eventually hook up with him and offers to take him to like a shanty town where he stays, I guess.
And I like how they're both a little untrusting of each other in that too. They want to, but they're not fully ready to commit any kind of trust. And so he offers help, and Roddy Piper rejects it, and then Nada follows him anyways because he wants he's on the up and up, which takes off Frank in the first place. Toilet duck. I
love that. I'm here to kick ass and drink toilet duck, and I'm all out of toilet duck. Fuck it, actually, I'm going to use that in a video one day. So he goes to the shanty town, and it's run by this guy. I'm going to have to look up the character's name because there's a bunch of people in it. It is
the actor's name is Peter Jason.
Peter Jason, yeah. So his character's called Gilbert, and he's like running this this shanty town to help people out, giving them food and all that stuff.
And I don't know if you know this, but a lot of those homeless people, they're real homeless. John Carpenter gave them food, gave them shelter, and gave them a paycheck. Not just food, not like, hey, here's a sandwich, paycheck and everything. So a lot of the homeless in that shanty town, and the black guy that we'll talk about here in a few at the thing, was a homeless person that John Carpenter hired instead of hiring extras or anything else. He hired the homeless for this film.
That's peak John Carpenter. It's like, we don't need actors to play homeless people. Let's just get real ones in to be in our movie.
Well, the whole movie's about how the working poor. These guys are working and yet they can't afford nothing. So why pay people who can afford it to make a movie about them and then go, hey, we did such a good job talking about these people when he could actually do a little something at the time, which I thought was really cool.
No, that's good respect to the guy for helping out a little bit. And so, these two guys get to know each other a little bit, and I think that's when Keith David explains, that his all the factories are closing down and there's no work for anyone, and so they're just trying to find scraps here and there. And he's very much disillusioned with the whole world that they live in now. He's like, it's all a con. The working class get trampled down, and it's all about the rich people who just it's your standard stuff.
And he tells them it's not just about me climbing a ladder. I have to knock you off the ladder first, so that there's room for me on the ladder.
Yeah. And Roddy Piper at this point is still a bit more, or less jaded, should I say? He even says, like, I still believe in like that American dream that you work hard and you'll make your way up.
Yep.
So he's not quite understood what's happening yet. And it's not until later that night, I think, that he sees the street preacher get hustled off into the church, that he gets suspicious that something more is going on, and that's when he sneaks in. And he finds that they are plotting something, like this group of resistance fighters. They're trying to intercept like these TV signals. They're trying to broadcast a message to everyone that they're being lied to, that they're being taken advantage of, and like these creatures are actually secretly running everything. And so it's
and the best part is right now we don't know if they're the crazy ones or not.
Well,
he finds the place and he's like, there's no real choir. This is speakers. Are these people up to something? He's not like, oh, hey, and the audience really isn't either. We're still like, what's happening? And I like that. Again, more of that slow burn of the movie.
Yeah, well, the very first time I saw this, like I saw the preacher getting hustled off into the church, and I thought, right, the Gilbert who's doing that to him is going to murder him. He's the bad guy. The preacher's been saying too much, and he needs to be dealt with. But it turns out that's not the case. Gilbert's very much leading this resistance. And I think that's when Piper goes in. He finds all these boxes like of sunglasses. He doesn't realize what's in them yet, but they're hidden behind a wall. And so he thinks that they're drugs or something like that. He's convinced that they're valuable. So he's like, I'll just put them back where I found them for now, and we'll see what happens. And that's when the police roll in later that night, like a riot police, like helicopters, everything. They go in and force, and they just devastate this camp. They drive everyone out. They arrest people. They're firing tear gas and stuff into the crowd. It's just carnage, basically.
Did you know that Roddy Piper was homeless in his teens, in his youth? He was homeless and lived on the street.
No, I didn't know that, man.
He was homeless when he first started wrestling, way back before the WWF, when they were still in I don't forget what that's called now, but they had their own areas before WWF bought up everything.
Territories.
Yes. And so he would wrestle, and sometimes he could afford a hotel room, and sometimes he couldn't. So he said some of these scenes, he said he never saw anything that violent, but the police or the city would come and clear out an area, which I've seen in this last year. Shanty towns pop up in my city, and they're gone a few weeks later. And it's like, did they get put somewhere, or what happened there? It's kind of weird. But yeah, he was homeless, and he said a lot of this hit home, that some of these scenes he wasn't even trying to act. He was sort of reliving it.
Yeah. No, that's... I mean, it all helps, I guess, in terms of the performance and stuff. Like, Piper's not really a guy I would associate with being a great actor, but like, he's okay in this movie. He does his part, and he's he's able to play that everyman to some extent. Like he's not some big gregarious character. He's fairly quiet and reserved for the first part of the movie, just kind of keeping to himself and minding his own business.
Which on that is actually not bad acting for Roddy Piper, because he is not a quiet dude.
No, he's not. No, there's a bit later on when he's trying to convince Keith David to put on the glasses, and he's screaming and yelling at him, and I was like, yeah, now that's the real Piper coming out.
He said he felt bad. He's like, I went too over the top here, and John Carpenter's like, no, you've been reserved, then you've been bottled up. Nobody's listening to you. Nobody's believing you, and now you're just bubbling over with, you have got to listen to me. And he's like, it's perfect. And I agree. It's fantastic. And it shows a contrast from the beginning of the film to that scene.
Yeah. People say that he was a nice guy in the real life. Of course he was nice. He was Canadian. Every Canadian's nice and polite. That's just bred into them, I think. But yeah, so the camp gets cleared out, and he rocks up the next day. I think he sneaks back into the ruins of the church, thinking that he's going to recover these cardboard boxes, and that's when he discovers he takes it away, thinking again that it's something valuable he can sell, and it's just a box full of cheap sunglasses. And
I like the small things that are in this movie that I do think get overlooked. And one of them is when you mentioned the first time he went in the church, he turns around, the blind man touches his face and his hands. And when he feels the calluses, he's like, okay, you're human. You're not one of them because they're soft and they're whatever. And then in this scene, he opens the sunglasses and he's like, what's this crap? They must be hiding stuff under them. This is what, you open, sunglasses, you hide the drugs, you hide the diamonds. And so he starts digging through it. Whereas I kind of feel like some of the lazy writing today, he just would have opened it and been like, oh, sunglasses, and grabbed them. Because it just feels like a lot has gotten kind of lazy these days.
Oh, it very much has, yeah. I think today, there would be way more dialogue to explain what's going on. This movie, and this is kind of a hallmark of John Carpenter, is that there's quite long stretches where there's nothing being said. And it's left up to the viewer to understand the character's thought processes. Which I kind of like. I like that style of just allowing scenes to breathe and allowing characters to breathe and just letting you put some of it together yourself.
Right. Well, that's why it's called acting. If you want a bunch of words, listen to an audiobook. But yeah, John Carpenter said that. He said this is called putting it out there without words. It's called showing the audience, letting the audience grow with you instead of telling them every single thing that happens along the way. And that definitely happens in a lot of movies today. I mean, they tell you stuff sometimes that literally just happened on screen. You just saw it and they tell you anyway.
Yeah. It's someone saying here, things have gotten lazy because people have gotten stupid. I don't know, man. I think it's like a cycle. I think stupid movies breed stupid people. And so, it used to be that you'd have to think a bit more to understand what was going on. And now you don't really get that. Dave Shields, good evening, my fellow Scot. Good evening to you, David. And I'm not sure where you are in Scotland, but it's nice to see a fellow Scotsman on. Just for people watching, by the way, obviously there's super chats that are coming in. We will get through all of them. We just tend to do them after we've talked about the film a little bit, so we don't stop and start. But yeah, so I think he helps himself to one pair of sunglasses, and he's walking down the street with them, and that's when you get the iconic scene of it's broad daylight, and he's like, oh fuck it, I'll put them on, and that's when you get this sign up on the billboard that's it's just an innocuous advertising sign, and then he puts it on. It's like, oh baby.
Yeah. all paintings too, matte paintings, all of those.
Yeah,
and again, he's no Mel Gibson, Harrison Ford, whomever, but he's got great screen presence. But he does have a definitely more than a serviceable level of acting. The surprise, because he's not seeing the aliens, because they did that later. He's not seeing the billboards. He's not. So the snapping them off of his head, what the heck did I just see? That's pretty solid to sell that to an audience.
Yeah.
To fake surprise has to be one of the hardest things to do.
Oh, totally. I just love how many times he does it as well. He puts them on. It's you seen that? What the fuck? Takes them off. Huh? Puts them on again. Takes them off.
And you get that great half scene where you actually see the gray and the thing while he raises them and lowers them.
That's great. And I love as well when he's, like you said, he's at the magazine stand, and all of the magazines have got Consume written on them. And then he sees the owner, and he's holding some dollar bills in his hand, and when he puts the glasses on, they just say, "This is your God."
Right. That was perfection. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, damn, the political satire is on the nose, as much as it can be,
That's one of the things I always say about this movie is there's a lot of movies that age really well, and there's a lot of movies that don't age well at all. And this movie, aside from kind of bad graphics on the aliens part, whatnot, it could have been made this year and it wouldn't feel dated. I mean, it's incredible. This movie is as applicable today as it was, 25, 30 years ago now?
I think I wouldn't trust Hollywood today to make this movie because I think it would be too close to the bone for them. They just wouldn't be able to handle it. But yeah, damn, it was on the nose back then. And I love his reaction as well. He sees this through the glasses, and he's like, what the fuck is this? And he goes into a store, and his first instinct is to start insulting people.
That's Piper right there too.
Yeah, when it's like, what are you looking at, formaldehyde face?
You look like you dropped your face in the cheese dip back in '83.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call the cops. The cops, you need to call a voodoo plastic surgeon.
Yeah.
That was another scene that John Carpenter wasn't sure about because he when they see him, we've got one that can see, he trips over a bunch of stuff and falls. And
Yeah.
John Carpenter was like, he said at the time, he felt maybe that made our hero look lazy, or not lazy, but clumsy, and kind of played him down. And I don't think so. I mean, this guy has just been pulled out of his whole world. He's not going to be on solid. And then in that one store, they're all aliens. So he's completely surrounded. You're not going to be watching your step. You're going to be trying to get to the door as fast as possible. And you're probably going to, I thought it was a beautiful scene that really sold how, and he's not to that rampage part yet either. So it really, really worked that he would trip over something that he's not even looking at.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. And like, there's two things going on there. One, he's dealing with this insane reality of, oh my god, everything around me is a lie, and like, there's aliens everywhere, and I'm the only one that can see them. That's going to mess with your head anyway. And then there's something about the glasses, I think, that cause, I don't know what you would call it, like distortion in your mind. It causes like nausea, and it makes you, feel like you're going to fall over. Yeah. And so, like, yeah, they've got basically side effects, and so I could totally buy that. Like, after using them for a while and dealing with all of this, like, he's not in the perfect frame of mind.
Like he tells Keith David when they finally do partner up, that he said, don't wear them too long. It's like screws turning in your head. And we had those earlier scenes about these wavelengths are affecting your brain even without the sunglasses. So if anything, it's almost like a hangover because it's breaking that signal. And now you're coming out of it, and sometimes that's worse than the effect in the first place.
You don't have to tell me about hangovers, man. I know all about them.
I've seen the pulse, I'll bet.
Yeah, so, he runs away from the store, and like you say, you've got that one that gets on their watch, because they're all wearing expensive watches, because all of these aliens are rich, well-to-do people. There's no bums like this. It's all with the wealthy people. And one of them's like, yeah, we've got one that can see here. And so they bring the cops in on him. And that's when they corner him in an alleyway. And they try to arrest him. And it's the whole like, hey, we can work this out. Let's go someplace and we'll talk about this. And so Rowdy goes into full-on Roddy Piper mode and just beats the shit out of them and shoots them both.
The best clothesline in movie history. I love it. He hangs his shoulders and he's like, yeah, let's go. Then he just yanks the guy and just clubs him.
Whenever you've got a wrestler in your movie, you're just always going to be looking for opportunities to let them do the wrestling moves, because they can sell it like nobody.
Right? Shawn Michaels did a movie, just as a quick tangent, and I was so excited to finally see Shawn Michaels in a movie, in an action movie. And the whole movie comes to an end, and he never does his super kick, not once. Oh. And I'm like, how could you not super kick one bad guy in the face in this whole movie?
Does he do that thing where he's lying on the ground and he flips his legs up to
I don't think he did that either. He was funny and he was great, but he kind of like wanted to distance himself, I guess, from his wrestling persona. But I'm like, dude, how could you not super kick someone?
Yeah, that's what everyone wants, man.
Right?
Yeah. So he, I love how he takes out these two cops, and then his first instinct is like, right, I'm going to fuck some shit up. So he gets their shotgun, he gets their pistols, and it just walks straight into a bank, I think.
He dodges into the bank on accident because he sees more sirens, and so he's like, I'm ducking in here, and he turns around. That's why he gets that frozen, oh crap, I'm in a bank with lots of guns, and he's like, you know what? Iconic line.
You get that great line, yeah, I'm here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Which is great that it was such an ad-lib for Roddy Piper. That's the kind of thing that enters his head.
Was that ad-lib from him?
Yeah, they were like, okay, we want you to go in here and just say something. He goes, well, I've got different things I say in wrestling, like you don't throw rocks at a man with a machine gun, and this, that, and the other. And he's like, I come here to chew bubblegum. And he's like, I just wanted to say something. He said, I never thought it would become the catchphrase of this movie.
Yeah. It comes out of nowhere, and it's just pure 1980s, like, I don't give a fuck, like, your bravado, I love it. You would never get a line like that now, and it's great.
It was perfection.
And then he just starts shooting people.
But like he tells Keith David, not people.
Yeah. It's the
Right.
aliens, but
Yeah.
he just blows the shit out of this place.
Right.
And he's eventually forced to run away because I think more cops arrive.
Yeah.
And that's when he makes a run for it, and I think that's when he runs into the female, the woman. Yeah,
Meg Foster. Yeah.
yeah.
Captivating eyes. I used to think those were contacts, but she has those eyes in every movie.
Yes, I was going to say that, man. Because they're so blue. They're like something out of a cartoon or something. Like I've never seen intense eyes like that.
Especially with such dark hair and kind of darker complexion, but the eyes are extremely light colored. It's incredible. She just pulls you in.
Yeah. It's really it's quite unusual, quite striking. And it's interesting because she's not. How can I say this? She's not young in this movie. Like she's not like some 25-year-old. Like she's much more like Piper's age.
Yeah, which you'd think would be nice for the people that rage and holler about that.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff. And and she does a great job. Like he says, she seems completely harmless, and she sells the whole harmless thing up until.
Oh yeah, I love that bit. Like because the whole thing is he needs to escape, and so he takes her hostage almost, and they get in the car and drive up to her house. And he needs a place to lay low for now to get his head together and figure out what he's going to do next. And so they're just talking. And it's like, she wants to go and get a drink, so she goes over and stands by the window, and he walks over beside her, and he's just in the middle of saying something, and out of nowhere, she just clocks him right on the back of the head, knocks him out, and then pushes him through a fucking window.
Right. She does like a 360. She's got her back. She hits him with the bottle, continues all the way around, and then pushes him through the glass. I mean, it's incredible. And it's funny because she hit him like 3 times, kind of medium. She's like, I don't want to hurt him. So she's like, bap. And she's like, did I hurt you? And he's like, I've been hit with chairs. Will you just break the bottle on my head already?
Yeah, it's like, I'm a fucking wrestler. Of course you can hit me.
And John Carpenter, there's a great scene. And it's funny how many actresses might have complained about this, but Meg Foster, today, not back then, but Meg Foster, John Carpenter has his arms around her, and he's holding her hand, which has the champagne bottle, and their back is to Piper. And he's like, no, I want you to bring it from here and just all the way. And they're just rehearsing it like that. And so she does, man. She just. And do you know his stunt double for that scene was Arnold Schwarzenegger's stunt double?
Oh, really?
Yeah, because Piper, obviously being a large man and a wrestler, did most of his own stunts, but nobody was letting him flip out of a window. So it was Arnold Schwarzenegger's stunt double.
Oh, that's cool, man. Because I mean, I know that Arnold had a lot of trouble finding a decent stunt double back in the early '80s when he was just starting in movies. Big as he was, obviously, there was not many guys who could fill in for him.
Yeah,
so they obviously by that point they'd gotten someone. But yeah, that's a great scene because it really, it's a real guy getting flung out of a window and then down a hill. Like it looks like a tough landing, man.
Oh man, big time. And I like how he limps and carries and drags himself on from there. He doesn't just, that was rough and get up and go. He's dragging his leg, he's holding his arm, his face is all messed up.
Yeah. I do like that though, the way that has no build up whatsoever. Like it just comes out of nowhere. And genuinely the first time I saw it, I was like, whoa, what the fuck? I did not expect that.
What just happened? Rewind it, but you're in the theater and you can't. Yeah, it was something else. It's still like I get mad if I try showing it to somebody and they're looking over at their drink or something, and I'm like, you take your eyes off the screen, you will miss this. It happens so fast.
Yeah, it's great, and so I think that's when he ends up hooking up with Keith David again. Like he's injured and stuff. And, like Keith David tracks him down and he gives him like the wages that he's owed from his job on the construction site. Yeah. And that is when it leads into the
greatest fight scene of all time.
It's so fucking good because Piper wants him to put on the sunglasses that he's found because it's like you'll see the world as I do, and it's gonna make sense of all this shit, and he just refuses to wear them, and so it ends up they fight each other. And
it's brutal and it's real, man. It's not beautiful. They choreographed that fight scene for almost 2 months so that they could be lightning fast with it and get everything they wanted.
Yeah, no, the punches and everything have got good weight to them. It's not a martial arts fight. It's not highly technical or anything. It's 2 big guys just like going at each other and trying to beat the shit out of each other, and it just works great like that. And yeah, there's enough in between. Like there's little bouts of it, and then it'll pause for a bit. They're trying to reason with each other, and yeah, it's great.
Like,
I love
the fight's over, and then it kicks up again.
Yeah, I love when Piper like smashes the window of his car, and he's like, "Oh shit, I'm sorry, man." Like that was a step too far.
And I guess I always wondered about that because I always thought he was apologizing for breaking his car, but neither of them have a car. And so what happened, according to Piper, and it makes sense, is the fight keeps escalating. One of the beautiful things about the fight is it's not about, they don't want to fight. Like Piper even tells him, he's trying to punch him, and he keeps smacking his hand down. He's like, I want to fight you. I don't want to fight you. I want you to listen to me. So he's not fighting to kill David. He's not fighting to hurt David. He's fighting to get David to listen, which it makes it a different fight from 99% of the fights you're going to see anyway. No matter how great they are, it's always about a good guy trying to put down a bad guy. And that's not what this fight was. And it keeps escalating to where now tempers are taking over the sanity of the friendship. And he says, so when he goes to hit him with the board and he moves and he shatters that windshield, he realizes, what if I had hit him? What if I had hit him square in the head? And so he drops the board and he's like, dude, I'm sorry. But now Keith David is angry because he's like, you could have killed me. And he bashes that bottle against the car, which shatters completely. It doesn't even leave him with a dent. And he's like, damn it. And then Piper starts laughing, which makes him even angrier, and the fight continues again.
Like you said, that actually makes a lot more sense. But yeah, like you say, it starts out trying to persuade the guy to put the sunglasses on, but the more it drags on and the more injured they get, the more he gets pissed off, and he's like, why won't you fucking listen to me? You know?
Somebody put in the chat, the best line in there is the whole, put on these sunglasses or start eating that trash can.
Yeah.
that is a great line. I love that line.
And a couple of times Roddy picks him up and suplexes him onto the ground.
Yeah, right. Oh, it can't be. And again, I love that he's just holding this giant man, waiting for action. They're not standing. Action. Pick him up. Slam him. He's holding him, waiting for action, and then he drops him.
Yeah.
And Piper's favorite hit in that whole scene is actually Keith David's hit on him. He loves the part where Keith David offers his hand out of friendship. And as he's pulling up, he goes, I told you, I don't want to be involved, and hits him again. Is Piper's favorite part of that whole fight.
Oh, man. It's great. And it's great when you've got two guys who kind of know how to fight. And it feels fairly believable in that, like, it's not super choreographed. I know what you're saying is that, like, they obviously spent a long time rehearsing it, and the result is it looks kind of natural.
Yeah.
And they're not doing all these big technical moves or anything like that. It's just two big guys, like, just beating the crap out of each other. But eventually, he does get him to put the sunglasses on and finally, like, persuades him of what he's seeing. He basically just beats him almost unconscious and then shoves him on his fucking head.
And gets him in an arm lock and drags him out to the street with the sunglasses on him. He's still dragging him to the street. He's like, look, I'm telling you, look. I've been there before with friends. Been like, you have to listen to what I'm telling you. But
yeah. And so that's what finally gets them working together, and they decide that they're going to go to reunite with Gilbert and the rest of the guys, because they want to try and stop all of this. They want to put an end to it. And so that's where you see, like, the Gilbert and the others, they've got a plan. They want to take over this TV station so they can broadcast the truth to everybody. Piper thinks he can use his the woman that he's met to try and get in there. But it all kind of goes to shit because the cops stormed the place before they can do anything, really.
Yeah.
And you end up with another big sort of firefight where everyone just gets mown down. Like, these guys are just killing people indiscriminately.
And from here, and it's like a roller coaster ride. You have that first half hour where it's just building. You're going up, and then it hits that top part, and then from here it just like shoots straight to the ending.
Yeah.
It's just nonstop from well, I guess after the fight scene, there's a bit of a quiet time and discussion in the hotel room. But yeah, from this shootout, it just shoots right to the end of the movie.
I do. Yeah, I missed that a little bit out, actually, when they're shuffling down the street and they're both
swollen,
messed up. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, they just check into a room in like a low rent motel so they can get cleaned up. It's great. But yeah, so they get into this firefight and they end up killing one of the aliens that's got a watch on, and I think that's when Piper uses it to. It's like it malfunctions or something, and it opens like a portal in the ground underneath them, like they can just jump through.
The guy from the shanty town gave them one when they arrived. They had taken it off the dead one, and they gave it to him. They're like, we haven't figured out how to play with it, and so Keith David plays with it. Then the shooting, he pockets it, and they go down the alley, and they're waiting in the alley, and he's still messing with it, and it malfunctions. Yeah, and he throws it on the ground, and it's pretty funny because Piper mentioned how hard it was to jump through this manhole cover that's basically the size of him, and he has to tuck his arms in to jump in through it.
Yeah, he's a big dude, obviously. Like that would hurt, man, if you missed it, if you mistimed it or anything. Yeah. But yeah, it leads them into this like underground base for where all this is going on. And I love how they wander through it until they end up in this like giant ballroom where all the rich people have gathered. And so what you find out is like you've got the aliens who are taking over the Earth. And you've got like humans who have decided to ally themselves with them. And like if you do, then you'll become rich and successful. Your bank balance will swell, and everything will be great for you. Just comply and just follow the script.
And the best part is all of that was already laid out for you in the beginning of the movie. When he's in that shop, you hear this. You hear this guy tell his friend, he's like, "I never get a promotion." And the alien tells him, "Keep going, man. Easy for you to say you already got the promotion." And then you see the rich alien putting her bags in the grocery in her car with her not rich human maid who doesn't know what's going on. And so it's all stuff that has been built up for you. So when it happens, you're not like, what's this? You're like, oh my God, this is everything they've already told me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's been set up right since almost since the start of the movie, essentially. It's that big divide between the kind of wealthy elites and like the working class who are kind of downtrodden and just getting exploited. And I keep pulling out my fucking earpiece so I can't hear. God damn it! I need to stop moving my arms. And I think at this point they actually run into one of the guys that was in the homeless camp with them, who's now, wouldn't you know it, he's now rich and successful, and he's wearing a tuxedo and everything. And damn, this dude is like the most trusting guy on the planet. He's like, "Oh, hey, you've decided to join us too?" And they're like, "Yeah, I guess
like,
so.
Let me show you everything."
Yeah, let me show the heart of the operation here and explain the whole thing to you. And yeah, that's.
I'm torn too because I've rewatched this many times, and I rewatched it with one of my nephew's friends the other day, and there's a scene when they're tearing apart that shanty town and everybody's running, and that guy is just standing there smoking his cigarette watching.
Yeah.
It's almost like he was the plant that was trying to find out who was behind this stuff. Now, I don't know. The audio commentary doesn't clarify if that's true or not, but it's interesting that he's the only one that is not worried when they roll through that shanty town, and it's not something I noticed the first few times I watched it.
I almost interpreted it as he was captured by them, and they gave him the option. It's like, you either join us and work for us, or we're gonna kill you, basically.
And they may have, because there is a scene later where there are like 3 police officers closing in on him, and then that's all you ever see. You never see him again, and you wonder, is he dead? And then you see him now; he's doing well. So I don't know which one for 100%, but it could easily be either.
Yeah. And so. They end up going all the way through the layer of all this stuff that's going on, like the signal that's being broadcast out to everyone, and they end up in like the news studio where this news network is broadcasting 24/7. And again, it's all aliens that are working there. And I think that's when they end up shooting a couple of the guards that are there, but it's like a soundproof booth.
Yeah.
And so they just like fight their way in because they're gonna take the whole thing down.
Now, do you remember when they were sneaking through? One of the guards has that device from Egon from Ghostbusters.
Yeah, it's the PKE meter. I was going to say, their radios are all just PKE meters. How the fuck did they get away with that?
I don't know, but Hulk Hogan has it in Suburban Commando also that he uses to track a device.
I mean, I don't know. Did they pay a licensing fee or whatever, or did John Carpenter just go fuck it? We'll just put it in there.
John Carpenter probably just said forget it and grabbed one.
Yeah. It's weird because it's such an iconic device in movies. Like you're gonna recognize it instantly, and they just put it in this movie as like basically a walkie-talkie. Great. No shits were given in the making of this film. I love it.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think this leads to like basically the big finale, the final shootout, where the two of them they fight their way upstairs. Piper makes it out onto the rooftop where the dish that's transmitting this signal to the whole world is located, and he has to basically get to it and destroy it. But wouldn't you know, just as he's about to shoot it, you know, Holly shows up.
Yeah.
Fuck.
After executing Frank.
Yep. Yeah.
And the heartbreak again. I know I'm not going to try to sell him as the best actor ever, but still the heartbreak on his face when he sees just her, and he knows that Frank has been killed. So his only friend in the world is now dead, and this woman he thought might have been on his side has just betrayed him. And there's a helicopter of aliens there, and he is more alone now than he was at the beginning of the movie. And it's great acting right there.
But now he's a man with a purpose, and I think that's what he lacked at the start of the movie. He was just an aimless drifter before. And now he knows what he has to do, and he knows what's at stake here.
And then he has to sacrifice himself to do it.
Exactly, yeah. And he's able to shoot her, to gun her down, and take out the dish just as he gets cut down himself by like this chopper that's hovering overhead. It like guns him down. Yeah. And does he not just go like, "Fuck it," and just shoots?
And then when he's laying on the ground, and it's one of the scenes Piper doesn't like, but John Carpenter loves it, and I do too. He flips off the helicopter, but his hand is just kind of all weak, and he's like, "I should have been like boom," and he's like, "You've just been shot. You're bleeding out. You're dying." So it's the last moments and breath of air. You wouldn't have that kind of strength, and yet it still represents your defiance. I think it's good that even though it's kind of a weak, limper middle finger, that's all you can muster. But by God, you're going to muster even that much to do it.
Yeah, no, I think that was fine. I think, like you say, it's an incomplete gesture, but you get what he was trying to do right there, and it's just a great way for that character to sign off. Someone's saying here, it's a good thing the aliens only had one dish. Yeah, like that was it. Like literally that one dish for the entire planet. It was.
And
right
thankfully, it was in L.A. and not New York, or else we might have had a road trip movie with Keith David and Roddy Piper.
Or if it was in like Budapest or something, it's like, shit, man,
that would have been even worse.
International. Yeah, and it ultimately comes down to this guy who really had nothing and no real purpose in his life. Just was willing to sacrifice everything and give his life to take these things out. And I love that. The signal gets cut off, and so everyone sees these aliens for what they really are. And I love how the final scene is like a woman fucking.
And he's like, "What's wrong, baby?
What's wrong, baby?" It's just this alien that she's humping. What a great way to end the movie. Like, honestly, it's just like it never gets too heavy and too like
preachy.
Yeah, exactly. It's just it always knows when to pull it back a little bit and just have fun. And so it just I can see why it became a cult classic. It's got all the perfect elements of it.
This is one of the things I was having a discussion with Real Shift, which is another site on here, is that there's agendas and there's messages. And I could be wrong. I'm nitpicking here. But this movie has a message. It's not an agenda, though. It's a message. And that's different from an agenda where a movie is, one, I think, if it's something detrimental, but where they're really just hitting you over the head with it. And this movie doesn't do that. It has a message. It's there. And different people have taken different messages from it, actually. And that's why it's so much better.
I assume it was designed as it was like a response to all that consumerist kind of culture that you had in the 80s, and which you still have now, to be fair. But like the 80s, I think, was the first decade where it really rose to prominence. And I think Carpenter was just a bit disgusted by the excess of it all. Everyone was desperate to get rich. Everyone wanted to be famous. Everyone wanted the big cars and the big houses and the money and all that, and they were willing to screw over people to get to it. In some ways, it feels like it would have done better in the 70s in some ways, because I think that was the time in America where like they were going through a really economic slump. You know, like all the car factories were closing down, and like the economy was kind of in the shitter. I feel like in the 80s it was a bit more of a boom time, but maybe that's what Carpenter was seeing there.
He did. He said he was going for commentary on Reaganomics, the trickle-down effect, that if the rich have it, everybody else will get some of it as it trickles down, and it just doesn't happen. When you get something, 9 out of 10 people, they'll hold on to it. There will be no trickling down. And so that's what his commentary was on. Although I can see the comparison to or even during the Depression would have been a good time, but that didn't. Even though things were bad, it didn't reflect the taking advantage, the stepping on the neck of the next person over.
Yeah, like this guy summed it up pretty well. Like Michael Douglas said, greed is good. Yeah, that was very Wall Street. That yuppie mindset of the 80s of like, I'm going to get some for me and fuck everyone else.
And I'm going to get it now, not in time.
Yeah. I can see how this was a good, that was his response to it. That these people that are selling you this lie are basically just profiting from you, and none of it's ever going to make its way down to you kind of idea. Again, I would not trust Hollywood to make a movie like this now, because I don't think they would take the same message from it.
Not at all. Could you imagine the message they put in this thing now? It's depressing. Like, I'm gonna need a bigger glass.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have enough Jack Daniels right here.
And you didn't comment on it. Now that we hit the end, one of the things I really like about this movie, and it's understated, one of the two things I'd like to comment on, one is the music. I love the music, and it changes. You got this really slow tempo as he's strolling into town, but when the police arrive and everybody to level it down, it's this very hyperkinetic. It really grips you. It's a very simple music, and you really only ever hear it in John Carpenter movies because he scores them.
Yeah, like I think John Carpenter actually performs some of the soundtracks from some of his movies. But yeah, like there's a lot of synth music and stuff in his films, and it gives you that kind of weird dreamlike quality to a lot of his movies. And again, it ties in with that slow pace initially, and the slow burn, and the lack of dialogue that you often get. That it just kind of creates an atmosphere that you don't get in many other films. There's something very interesting about how Carpenter structures his movies. You could write essays about how this guy does films. Like they're not always subtle, they're not always for everyone, but like there's definitely something unique and interesting about them.
He really probably does underdogs better than anybody else, whether it's Kurt Russell in The Thing or Nada in this. They really are regular people out of their element completely, who have no idea what's going on. And he really likes, with The Thing and this movie, and really even Escape from New York, not always knowing who to trust. Sometimes the person he doesn't trust ends up helping. The person he does trust ends up betraying him.
I quite like the idea of heroes like Snake Plissken, for example, who they're not always good guys.
Yes.
Ultimately they're pulled into doing good things because it's in their interest, but like you never quite know if you can trust them. And it's the same with Kurt Russell in The Thing. Again, he's kind of a loner, and he's not really a leader or anything like that. McCready's just very much out for himself. And he's ultimately forced to become a bit more of a heroic character through the movie. But again, I like that. Like you say, he's great at constructing these morally grey everyman characters where you never quite know who's who in his movies. And I think that's interesting. I do like this comment as well. Apollo Creed is your god. Well, of course he is. Like, I've always had a soft spot for Apollo Creed. It's a shame that Creed 1 and 2 kind of ruined his character, made him an adulterer. But whatever. Yeah, sure. This was always the thing. Oh no, that's not the one. It keeps like scrolling down. Yeah, the world is saved by the dregs of society. Yeah, that used to always be a thing in older movies. It was always the working class hero. Analog synth as well. Yeah.
You know, it's something you'd see a lot in westerns. There were westerns that had the sheriff or whatever, but there are a lot of westerns where it was the random guy who ended up he wanted to be left alone. He wanted to drink, he wanted coin, and he wanted to go on his way, but something was just too negative for him to pass on, and he would get dragged into setting it right. Sometimes because they picked a fight with him. If they'd have left him alone, he'd have left the town and they could have kept the corrupt ways. But because they attacked him, he's like, well, now I have to retaliate.
Yeah. I was just thinking about other Carpenter movies as well. They're like Big Trouble in Little China. You've got Jack Burton, who's a truck driver. Again, just a working class dude. Totally fucking unprepared for everything that's going on, but like he rises to the occasion, you know.
Talk about somebody that doesn't want to do it too. He just wants his freaking truck.
Yeah, I just want my truck back.
It's a shame we don't. You know, I don't know. Now you have mentioned that you play a little bit of video games. Yeah. Have you played Dead Space?
I played a bit of it. Yeah, like I never got all the way through it. I just kind of ran out of time with it.
John Carpenter wanted to make that movie about 10 years ago, but they wouldn't give him the budget. And he's like, no, I don't want it to be in tunnels like Alien. I want to, because the whole part of that game is feeling like you're out in space.
Yes. I don't think Carpenter would be the guy to do it, but I get why he was interested in it. Yeah. You know, like he did Ghosts of Mars, and I guess that was like him doing a bit of sci-fi. That kind of wasn't a real hit. I think it suffered from a lack of budget.
And that one was supposed to be Escape Part 1. One of the two movies that was supposed to be Escape Part 3 with Kurt Russell. And I'm kind of glad it wasn't, because I don't know if that would have worked with the virus, alien, vampire thing, or if that changed when Kurt Russell didn't do Pliskin again. I don't know.
Yeah. You got, love the Indiana Jones look. Hey.
Thank you. Hey, wait. Stop my cam for just 1 second.
Yeah, that's fine.
I got a bit of an avatar, and I'm trying to look like my avatar.
That's it. Yeah, grow the hair out a little bit more. You're good to go, man. Right. Prince of Darkness is another great Carpenter movie. I really like that one. There's something. I watched it when I was a little kid, when I was far too young, probably. And there's something really disturbing about that video message that comes from the future. It's great. Like I really need to do a stream on that or do a review of it or something.
I don't think. Oh, sorry. Cool.
No, I was just going to say it was part of Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy, wasn't it? Like you had that, and
I don't think I've seen that. I don't think I've seen Prince of Darkness, because whenever I think of it, I think of a Clive Barker movie that had the guy from Quantum Leap, Archer from Enterprise, and it was a terrible film. And so I keep thinking Prince of Darkness is that film, and that's not. That's a completely different one.
No.
Lord of Illusions. I always confuse that with Lord of Illusions.
No, Prince of Darkness is the great one.
I'm gonna have to watch that.
It's a tough one to even describe. It's like, well, kind of Satan comes to Earth, or tries to anyway.
So maybe not my favorite movie then.
Yeah, someone was suggesting, is it Nightbreed that you're thinking of?
Oh no, I was thinking Lord of Illusions.
Okay, yeah.
But I'll check out Nightbreed also if that's a good one.
Carpenter did The Fog. Yes. Great film. Really good.
You know what Carpenter did? I don't know if everybody knows. His first movie with Kurt Russell was a true story of Elvis Presley, just called Elvis. Okay. And Kurt Russell is amazing in it. I mean, it's not just impersonating that voice to the 9th degree. He does a beautiful job. And Kurt Russell's dad, who was an actor, got to play Elvis's dad opposite his son in it also. But anyways, it's a fantastic film, and it's a completely different John Carpenter than anything else he's ever done, obviously being the true story of Elvis.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Like Carpenter, like that's the guy I always associate with horror and stuff. So doing something like that's pretty cool. I was going to say as well, like we've obviously had quite a few super chats come in while we've been doing this. Should we try and tackle a few of them?
Absolutely. Can I make one more comment about the movie?
Of course, man. Of course.
I love. There's a lot of scenes where Carpenter captures. It really shows he is a great director, underrated. He'll have the shots where he's filming in the homeless shanty town and the homeless people, but in the background, the sprawling city, the skyscrapers, and all of that glossy gloriness,
the wealth and the opulence of it. Yeah.
And you get a great scene when Piper is thrown out the window, and he's crawling and he climbs under an underpass, and you have him cold, injured, and shivering under the overpass, and then the giant city sprawling in the background. All these people that don't care, they don't know, they've got their own lives, and it's really phenomenal cinematography.
Yeah, no, I like directors who obviously take the time to composite scenes like that, which you can miss quite easily, but like if you take the time to really think about it, like you've done there, like you really see what the message he was trying to convey there. It always reminds me of that photograph that I saw, and for the life of me I can't remember who took it, but it's like a kid who's like starving on the ground in like some shithole place, and there's like a vulture sitting nearby. This was like a real photograph that someone took, and then there's a billboard behind them like for Coca-Cola. And it's just like everything composited into one scene. Like that is just that says it all basically.
That's a stunning photo.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm going to look through some of them here. So super chats, there's one from MTH here saying, "Hey Drinker, I sent your business proposal on July 19th via Patreon and 2 follow-up messages. I was wondering if you had a chance to review. You're a badass drinker and you've got the most epic content on YouTube." I think I've replied to that just today because I was going through my Patreon messages, and if it is the one I'm thinking of, that would be fucking cool. It'll make for a really good happy hour. So yeah. Check my responses on Patreon, man. That can be good fun. RRTNZ says, "Hail Drinker, you grog guzzling guide to good cinema. At work today, so we'll watch the stream later. Another Carpenter classic with a perfect ending. Hope you brought plenty of bubblegum. Cheers." I didn't bring any bubblegum, but I did bring plenty of booze, so that always makes for a good stream. Chucksenhausen says, "I'm honored to have gave you my Shang-Chi comment, that you gave my Shang-Chi a comment a heart the other day about Hawk slaughtering Chi and other strong female characters. Cheers to you, good sir." He fucking would. Hawk would destroy everyone in Shang-Chi. He's the true Kung Fu master. Chucksenhausen also said, "One more thing. Never, ever fucking comply." Good advice for life. Never comply.
Whenever I hear those, I always think of Rorschach from The Watchmen. Even in the face of Armageddon, never compromise.
Yes, I love that. Well, I love the graphic novel and I love the movie as well. I take it you quite enjoyed the film as well. I'm just going to guess on that one.
Yes, I really love the movie a lot. I love that they gave that guy a second chance because he was a teenage actor himself that fell to the child actor curse and ruined his life for many years. So to see him return as Rorschach and really land some great roles after that, it's kind of a beautiful thing.
Yeah, Jackie Earle Haley, great actor. Like the performance he gave as Rorschach was just phenomenal.
Stunning.
Yeah. Obviously not a big guy, not a physically dominant guy, but like doesn't matter.
He sold it.
Like,
yeah, he sold it amazingly. You forget he's small because he just was so great.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great watching him in that movie. He was like, and particularly because a lot of the time he's got the mask on, and so you can't even see his face, but it doesn't matter. Like the performance he gives is that good.
Which, as an aside, is one of the things that drives me crazy about Marvel movies and even DC but especially Marvel, is everybody's got to take their mask off every 13 seconds. I'm not here to see Tom Holland. I'm here to see Spider-Man. It's masks, people.
Yeah, it's like, look at my beautiful face. Right. I love that scene as well. You're trapped in here with me. After fucking throwing boiling oil over a guy.
Right.
This is great. What a way to make an impression.
Right.
What's the next one? Unhinged Entertainment says, "The Drinker and the Crow talking about they live. Well, so does my Johnson." Nice one. James Bursey, "Oi Drinker, many thanks for covering this absolute classic. Hurry up and visit Texas. I've got 30 varieties of boomstick, 50 kinds of whiskey, and a lot of Tatiana wannabes for you to experience." Well, you're threatening with a good time now, man. I'm all fucking in. God, go to Texas sometime in my life. Honestly, it seems like a fucking awesome place.
It's more beautiful than you'd think. A lot of the westerns that take place in Texas actually are filmed in Arizona and Utah. There's a lot of Texas that's beautiful country.
No, man, I just want to. I want to go there. I want to have a barbecue. I want to get some guns. You know, get some strippers, shoot some strippers. Like, what's not to like? Also, from James Burst, he said, "R.I.P. Rowdy." Yeah. Fucking tragedy that guy passed away. I'm still relatively young as well.
One of the things that'll break your heart is I watched an interview with him, and he's discussing all these things, and he says you got to put money away. A lot of the wrestlers don't. A lot of sports people don't, and you have to. He says because retirement age isn't till 65, and he says let's be honest, I'm not going to live to be 65. And sure enough, he died at like 62, I think it was.
Yeah.
And it just was heartbreaking, especially after he passed, to watch that interview when he says that. I got to speak to his widow for 5 minutes one time after his passing. That was very nice. She's a very nice lady.
Yeah. No, that's it's a real shame. And like I know he was at the premiere of The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke. And apparently that movie like moved into tears because it was so close to home for him, having seen so many guys go through that same experience of just being washed up and like having no money and really having nothing left. It's a hell of an industry, man. Like it doesn't really give you a long-term existence, I guess. I remember like I read Bret Hart's autobiography, and it was really insightful and really interesting, but also really sad. Like it starts off, way back in the 70s and 80s when everyone's young and they feel like they're invincible. They're all doing lines of coke every night and like just partying like this is the last night of their lives. And then you flash forward, to the 90s and they're all middle-aged. They're starting to die from heart attacks. Like they've got all kinds of problems and stuff. And it's like, shit, man, you really see how this puts you through the meat grinder, this whole industry.
I've read a couple of different. I haven't read Bret Hart's. I'd like to. I read a couple of them, and they are heartbreaking. And I gotta tell you, speaking of They Live, I blame a lot of that stuff on people like Vince McMahon. I can't stand the man at all, like not even a little bit. Up to and including Roddy Piper. This was one of the first times he quit WWF because Vince McMahon didn't want to let him do this movie. And so Piper said, well, I'm going to, because he knew what he had. And he walked out and he went and made They Live.
Yeah. And as well, he should. Like, I don't know why Vince would try and stop him.
Because he's a control freak. He wants to control everything.
Yeah.
And he's not a good dude. I won't talk too bad because I don't want to get in no trouble or nothing, but he's not a good person.
Yeah. What's the next one here? Nick B says, I've come here to chew bubblegum and send super chats, and I'm all out of bubblegum. Well, thanks, Ben. I appreciate your super chat. Carrier, a Raccoon City story, says, hey, Drinker, first time catching you live. Hey, well, there you go. This is something I do from time to time. Enjoying a fine glass of moonshine here. Well, that's a perfect way to spend your Thursday evening. Drank all my scotch last night, unfortunately. What can you do, man? At least you got something as backup. Matthew Matson says, my God, man, I've been waiting for someone to do this movie. Such a classic and relevant. Drink on and enjoy. Thank you, mate. And cheers to you. Michael Poe says, nice guy ended up broke like my brother. Is that referencing Piper? I wouldn't have imagined he would be broke. As much as he lived a life, like he must have made millions over the years.
I don't think he was broke because he has a pretty decent house and property and everything. He didn't have a mansion, with cars and gates, but he was doing very well for him and his family.
Yeah. What's the next one? The Outcast Creative said, sent you a pic of me and Roddy. He signed my vinyl soundtrack. Dug it out from the shed for you. I interviewed art director Alan Tompkins. If you do a bridge too far, count me in. I know all the stories. Yeah, I saw your email. So yeah, this is a guy who Roddy Piper came into his music store or something. And they got some photographs with him, and it's great. Like apparently he was just a really nice guy to talk to and very accommodating. So yeah, it's pretty fucking cool. I'd love to have met him in my life. I'm obviously never going to now. Yeah, A Bridge Too Far, classic World War II movie, brilliant film, all-star cast and everything. Like, man, they don't make them like that anymore. Zitho GBR says, I always tend to associate this film with Kurt Russell, maybe because in Germany they used the same voice actor for Mr. Piper. They look similar, and Kurt would have been also a good choice. I didn't know that. Same voice actor.
I found that they had that problem with like Tom Cruise and a few others too. They had John Carpenter had done 4 movies with Kurt Russell already, and Piper actually sat in on a dinner with Kurt Russell and John Carpenter. John Carpenter didn't use Russell for this because, despite the beard or the eye patch, he felt Russell was still a little too pretty, and he wanted somebody that had the scars on his face, that had the pock marks, that had the lines already, that really looked like a man beaten down by life and living on the street. And he was a huge wrestling fan and had already met Piper, and that's why he went with Piper instead of Kurt Russell on this one.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's probably a good choice. Like Piper, yeah, you can see he's not quite the pretty boy that Kurt Russell is. You know, he's definitely lived the life when you see him up close.
Voice is unique too.
Yeah. Yeah, there's an interesting one here. But They Live is an anti-Semitic movie. Like, I know people have claimed that over the years that you know, the aliens controlling everything is meant to be some kind of metaphor for like Jewish people controlling Hollywood or the world or whatever. But Carpenter himself said, "No, that's bullshit, man. Like, that was never my intention." So I think sometimes people apply what they want to it.
Definitely, yeah. That's what I was saying earlier, is that when you get an agenda, you hit them over the head with it. When you make a message, sometimes people take the message the wrong way, and there were different groups that tried to co-opt this message, and John Carpenter loudly denied it on Twitter and whatever else. He's like, no, stop trying to ruin my movie with your nonsense, because that is not a hate movie. It's a wake up to world kind of movie.
Yeah. There's another one here. Did they make The Matrix woke? Yeah, just to diverge off into a tangent. I think you know, the Wachowskis have they're not the Wachowski brothers anymore. Put it that way. And so yeah, they came out in recent years and said, like, well, the original Matrix, like the red pill and the blue pill, was always like a metaphor for coming out as transgender or something, and that was the message that they were trying to put into it. Man, I mean, I can't put words into their mouths and say, like, well, that's what they intended, but I never took anything like that from the movie. And if you look at it now, there's not even a hint of that. So it's almost like projection at this point, that like they're trying to retroactively go back and change the whole meaning of the films. Yeah, like you crafted a good sci-fi movie there. Yeah. Like, just be proud of it. You don't have to try and project all this political stuff onto it that wasn't really there. I don't have a good feeling about where the new Matrix film is going to go. I mean, I don't know about you, man. Like, 20 years ago, okay, the Matrix movie was cool as fuck. Like, the first one that came out, that redefined cinema, and it redefined what action movies would be. And it was great. And Jesus, there was people in my high school that were going around in, like, you know, full-length leather coats because they loved it that much. And yeah, we beat the shit out of them, obviously. But, like, you know, they were not like Neo when it came to fighting, put it that way. But yeah, it had such a cultural impact that people were doing that. And it, you know, I think trying to recapture that now just seems like a bit of a weird choice. Like, it felt like they told the story that they wanted to tell with the original trilogy. I don't really see where they can go with it now, except just reiterate the same beats all over again.
Which is even what it kind of looked like. I haven't seen the new trailer. I watched the teaser, and it did the same thing. Wake up, Neo. It's time to... you really think you're here? And it just kind of seemed to be rehashing it. And even though I like part 2 and 3 on occasion, really the first one and the Animatrix is actually what I enjoy more than the 2 sequels. But the first one is standalone, one of the greatest things ever made. But I don't see a lot in this one. It might be okay, but I doubt even at its best it's going to be more than decent to adequate.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. There's only one Matrix movie. The other 2 don't have enough Monica Bellucci. She is hot as fuck. Like, I'll give her a due. Like, damn, she's a beautiful woman. Yeah, Hollywood would never rehash something. Of course not. That's not what they do.
Unheard of.
Yeah, the architect will be back for another 13-minute monologue.
Right.
I did like his monologue. Like, it's a great bit of dialogue. It really is. It's very poncy and it's very, self-indulgent. But it's cool to listen to. Trinity caused an explosion. I must admit, right, when I saw her in the new trailer, Carrie-Anne Moss is still looking pretty good. Which is interesting because she was in one of those Marvel TV shows. I think she was in Jessica Jones as a lawyer or something.
She was, yeah.
And she looked a lot older there. And I don't know if they've digitally de-aged her or if she's just gotten back into good shape or something like that. But she seems to be younger looking now than she did like 5 years ago, which is interesting.
Now, am I alone in that too? That I found Jessica Jones to be pretty much unbearable.
It was pretty hard going. Like, they really hammered home the girl power message with it, and I didn't like Jessica as a character.
No, that's the hardest part. I hated her character. My favorite part was David Tennant. Honestly, he was so out of control. He was wonderful, and then luckily Luke Cage came in to carry the rest of it. And what did she do besides break locks? That seemed to be like her power. She'd grab a lock and yank it open. She was like, "See, super strong." And you were like, "Can you be likable?"
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if some of that comes down to the actress that played her, like Kirsten Ritter, sorry. She can do angry and hostile, but she can't really do anything apart from that. And so, yeah, she's not the most engaging actress to watch. You know, you don't end up empathizing with her very much because, like, Jessica has to be vulnerable. Yeah. Like, that was her whole thing. Like, she's super strong, but like she can be manipulated by like David Tennant's character, and that makes her vulnerable. And you're supposed to empathize with her because of that. But I never did because I don't think she can bring that in her performance.
I think she's better suited to comedy. She's done a couple of really funny movies and some TV shows. I think she's maybe better suited to comedy.
Yeah, you could be right. Yeah, this is a good point. All the Marvel shows besides Daredevil, yeah, they pretty much were. You know what? I'll just say it. Like, I never cared about any of the other ones. Daredevil was the only one, and that was mostly because you've got a great actor playing Daredevil, and you've got a great actor playing Wilson Fisk, who was a well-written antagonist. And like Vincent D'Onofrio in that show was fucking brilliant. I loved his character.
I never thought I liked Kingpin that much, but Vincent D'Onofrio was amazing.
Yeah. And I think for me, it was a hangover from the Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck, where like Michael Clark Duncan played Kingpin. You know, as much as I like that guy as an actor, he was just not right for that role, and the movie just totally sold him short. Whereas you
Kingpin
got much more complexity.
Yeah, very one-dimensional. Like, I actually am one of the few people that likes that Daredevil movie. I do. I don't think it's the greatest thing ever, but I enjoy it. But Fisk was very one-dimensional. He was just the bad guy that was strong, that did some bad things. That was kind of it.
Yeah. I'm just going to go through some more of the super chats here. Mr. Trickle Trunk says, there's memorable lines in this that people parrot, but my brother and myself always just quote the last line of the film. Hey, what's wrong, baby? It's a great way to end a film. You can tell it's made in the 80s because it's just got a woman topless, just for no fucking reason, just because we could. Why not? Why not? You know, and that's what I always ask myself when it comes to topless women in movies. Why not? Curtis Langley says, I never realized how handsome the drinker was. 9 out of 10 would definitely bang. Thanks, Curtis. I'll save that for the weekend. Facts about the Vax band. Let's eat unicorn burgers. Yeah, why not? They're tasty. Josh Courtleaf says, off topic, bigger bullshit, plot crutch, super material, vibranium or unobtainium. By the way, I'm a quadriplegic, but your videos make me stand and applaud. Mercy. They're both bullshitty, but unobtainium, that is the one that allows you to like drill down to the center of the earth. So yeah, I'm gonna go with unobtainium as more bullshitty. Vibranium, it's really associated with Wakanda now, so that makes me kind of not like it because it's just all about supporting Black Panther. The Outcast Creative says, Drinker, make your hoodies zip-ups, please. Otherwise, it's really hard for Tatiana to chew on my nips. P.S. My wife will definitely dirty look me hearing this. I thought they were zip-ups. I don't think I've got too much control over them with Teespring. You basically get a generic hoodie that you can use, and it's not really a choice between zip-up or just like, one piece. But I'll do what I can. I know that Teespring now do pint glasses, so yeah, I'll get them on there. So you can buy a Critical Drinker pint glass to drink your booze from. TS says, greetings and salutations, drinker and guest. Long time watch, first time donator. Well, thank you very much, mate. A bit off topic, what are your thoughts on the Aliens versus Predator films, or at the least, will you do videos on them? Shit, man. Both of the Aliens versus Predators movies, I fucking hated them. It was a crossover I never wanted to see. I just thought they were both lazy and, just...
I enjoyed them.
Did you?
I did. I didn't love them. The second one, the ending ruins the whole movie. The second one, the ending ruins the whole movie. I won't spoil that for somebody who hasn't seen it, but it was pretty cool. And they actually sent a predator from the Predator planet. You actually get to see the Predator planet for a minute. And it's one of those where they're just like, yeah, the Predator is one of the most badass characters in the universe, so we're going to send him to handle this. And there's some stuff in there that's kind of not great, but it's a fun movie. The first one I did really like. It moves a little too quickly and it's a little convenient, but I love Alien vs. Predator. There's a couple novels that are amazing. One written by Steve Perry. There's a couple comic sets that are really good. There's a lot of really lazy ones where it's just Alien Predator, smash them together at the end. But I like them. I do. I enjoy both of them to a certain extent. I didn't love them, but I did like both of them.
See, about as far as I wanted to go with all of that was like in Predator 2 when Danny Glover goes into the alien spaceship or the Predator spaceship and you see the alien skull on the wall.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's fucking cool. Like, wow, the aliens are part of this universe and the Predators have fought them in the past. I love that. Like, that's just enough to hint at all of it. But I didn't really need to then see it played out. I didn't need to, like, this whole mythology about how they've come to Earth and, you know, they're part of some ancient civilization, and then they put the aliens here. It's like, that doesn't really fit with anything. It just feels a bit weird.
To the best of my knowledge, that was made up for the movie too. One of the better graphic novels, and actually the actual novel that I was talking about, Steve Perry, they actually run into each other on an alien planet out in space, and so it works a little better because they mashed up in each other onto another planet, and I do like that better. Trying to make it part of human history is a stretch of the imagination, even for a fun sci-fi films. I can agree with that.
Yeah. And yeah, like I just feel like the Aliens versus Predator movies was just like a step too far for me. I mean, honestly, I would have happily ended Predator at Predator 2, and I would have ended the Aliens movies at, well, Alien 2. I don't feel like I wanted the third one or the fourth one.
Right.
It's such a shame because they're both great franchises. I just feel like they've run out of ways to like continue them.
You know what I'd love to see is a Predator movie, and they'll never make it. A Predator movie that doesn't have any English dialogue, that takes place on another planet with the Predator hunting something, and then something bigger than him, and he's got just a whole real story about the Predator. Yeah. And of course, it wouldn't have any English dialogue, but it would be an amazing film. But they would never make something like that.
I think that the struggle you would have then is like you're used to seeing the Predator as this unstoppable force that's hunting you, and so to make it then the protagonist of your story, you're going to have to empathize with it. You have to make it vulnerable, and you have to make it almost human in how it. Yeah.
Well, and see, speaking of things like that, that's what I don't like about these last two Predator movies. Is I don't like the Predators hunting each other. That doesn't work for me at all.
That was bizarre. Yeah,
I like the idea that their planet is at peace with each other. They're not murderers and killers; they're hunters. And these last two movies have turned them into a warring tribe like Earth or whatever. And I don't care for it.
Yeah, because again, the second movie kind of implied that like predators are sent to Earth to like earn their hunting honors. You know, they come here and like they have to prove themselves by hunting humans, and so you get a little bit of an insight into predator society. But then again, like it seems like a unified society.
Yeah.
You know, they agreed the rules of how they're going to work, and that's what they have to do. And so, yeah, you've got now this weird thing where you've got different factions of predators, and some of them want to become super autistic because apparently that's going to make them better somehow. Like that's a really odd thing to try and work in.
Yeah, and I think the island one that Robert Rodriguez did would have been great without the two predators fighting amongst themselves. You had all these humans, you could have just let it be, but
Jester of Roanoke says the satire of the past is the reality of today. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. You just need to consume and buy and obey and don't think. Sleep while we live. There you go. Kevin S. says, I'm currently holding my DEF CON 22 badge. The code, puzzles, and messaging around the badge are based on They Live. It was fun. Nice. Itor Maya says, Meg Foster's eyes are striking, but she always looks a little sinister. She kind of does, yeah. And I think some of it comes down to the fact that she's a bit older than this. She looks like she would just be a serial killer, you know? And that's what I think she was planning to do with Piper. She was just like, yeah, I'll lure you into my house, and then I'm going to fucking whack you over the head. And, oh, no, you fell out the window. I was going to, like, wear your skin as a suit or something. Guy Thomas says, brilliant chat about one of my favorite films. Do you know the band The Cadillacs the Cardiacs that influenced the likes of Radiohead and the Wild Hearts? The Cardiacs used the obey signs in their artwork. No, I'm not familiar with them, man. I don't know if you are. CainCrow.
I am not. No, I'm sorry.
CG Blade says, Ray F. Nelson, who wrote the short story that was the premise for They Live, 8 o'clock in the morning, was my mentor throughout my first novel, Cobalt. Ray and I became good friends. More to come. Well, that's fucking cool.
That is. That's awesome.
He must have been well thrilled to see this movie get made. Then, I'll continue his one because I'm kind of skipping ahead just to get the continuation of this super chat. Ray was great friends with Roddy. Ray emailed me the day that Roddy died. It was very sad. I dedicated my novel to Mr. Piper. Ray didn't email many people as he was still in hiding from the FBI. What the fuck? I'll take your word for it, man. I don't know what he was hiding for. Tarmanel says, any opinion on the new short miniseries, The North Water? If not, I can recommend it. It's something between Taboo and The Terror. A really chilling and rough drama. Anyway, thanks for the good work. Well, I've not seen Taboo, but I've seen The Terror and really enjoyed it. So that could be good in that case. So it's called The North Water. All right. The Critical Stoner says, watch Togo. Badass William Dafoe and his loyal dog are in a race against time to save some sick kids. Based on a true story. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go get high now. Go get high now. Thanks, Critical Stoner. Watch Togo. Yeah.
Willem Dafoe is amazing. He's a great actor.
Yeah. He never seems to age as well, which is really freaky.
Yeah, but he started out old.
He kind of did, yeah. Even when I go back to Platoon, which was like 35 years ago, it's like, damn, he looks exactly the same as he does today. What the fuck? Right. William Dafoe has just always been 45.
Yeah.
Chesy97 says, thanks for your videos. Thanks, man, and I appreciate the super chat. Rod Thunderheart, Hail Drinker, and CainCrow. I was in a movie playing a cashier and the place gets robbed. The first take, the cops burst in, freeze. As a former wrestler, I dove to the ground with a big crash. Cut, hollered, director, are you okay? What the fuck? They asked me in a panic if I was okay. I said I was fine. I used to wrestle. I can fall, no problem. Well, we're going to be shooting this scene like 50 times, so maybe just duck next time.
Awesome.
The Craig Lee Lawrence experience says, pleasure CainCrow and Hail Drinker. They live. Yes, they do. Thanks, man.
That's my pleasure too. Thank you very much.
What have we got here? Yeah, Frozen in the 80s gave me a critical hit super sticker, so thanks, man. Rod Thunderheart, Hail Drinker, and CainCrow. Did you hear a month before he died, Roddy Piper claimed that They Live was a documentary? However you look at it, it seems just kooky that he died after claiming that.
Right.
Well, there we go.
There was another one Keith David went on about how this movie was the #1 movie for 2 straight weeks, and then it didn't drop. It just got pulled from theaters. It just was
Right.
gone. And so, and I know Roddy Piper, he had some issues the last few months before his death, but I don't know if I don't know, maybe he didn't mean it 100%, but I know that he at least meant this movie should be taken a lot more serious than just, oh, what a fun sci-fi film. There's truth to this movie, and there really is.
I think so, yeah. Not that we're being secretly ruled over by aliens or anything,
No.
but I can get what they were going for with this, that like maybe the system's a bit rigged and like the richer are always going to get rich and profit off you, and maybe it's not just a case of working hard to get to the top.
To be honest, and I won't digress too much into it, but I do feel it's a little bit of some of what we hear with them trying to make, and that's one of the comments I wanted to make, they trying to turn races against each other as if this is still Jim Crow or even older. I told you I watched this with a young teenage friend of my nephew's, and he literally asked me, and he's a smart kid, but he asked me legitimately, was it common for a white man and a black man to be friends like this back then? I'm like, back then it's just the 80s, man. What are they teaching you at school?
Yeah, so you gotta be kept apart.
Yeah, that's what they're really trying to teach, that everybody's racist, everybody's sexist, everybody hates everybody, and I think that is part of a diversion from actually getting anything done.
Well, I think it's like it used to be that it wasn't made a big deal of. Like you could have mixed sort of races of characters in movies, and it wasn't really like nobody needed to trumpet it. It was just like, these two people have got something in common, like they're both struggling against a common enemy or whatever. Of course they're gonna hook up, they're gonna work together, and you don't need to make anything more of it. I just noticed Anna's in chat as well, like that Star Wars girl.
Oh, is she? Fantastic.
Anna, if you want to come in at all into this chat, you're more than welcome. Just make yourself known in chat, and I will send you the link. I'll bring you in. But yeah, so what's the next one here? What's the next one? Yeah, so Paul Highcal says, "Hail Drinker, could you please do a happy hour on The Rock and possibly address the insane fan theory that confirms it is actually a James Bond movie? I also highly recommend Glendronach whiskey." I'm not going to lie, man. I've never heard of Glendronach before, so I'll need to give that a look up. But yeah, never heard of that one. It was always hinted at in The Rock, and I think this was exactly what they were going for. Is like we can't outright say that Mason is Bond, but they got as close as they could. That he was a British secret agent that was active in the 60s, and he stole all these secret plans and stuff. So yeah, fuck it. Like I love it. Like I love Sean Connery. And it's just great to see him in any movie like this. So, yeah, I'm fine with that idea. I'm on board with it.
It's better than any Bond movie you're going to see anytime soon.
Absolutely, yeah. What's the next one here? Sorry, just give me a second just to refresh the list.
Well, while you're doing that, I've seen a few in the chat asking about Roddy Piper movies. I don't know if you know, but he was in an episode of the Highlander TV series.
I did not know that. No.
Oh yeah, it's great. He's Roddy Piper, nuts. He plays an immortal that gets into it with I just lost his name, but McLeod, Connor, Duncan.
I mean, it makes sense. Obviously, like Roddy playing like a Scottish guy, even though he's Canadian. Fuck it, who cares? Yeah. So yeah, why not? What's the next one here? Oh yeah, here it is. So, Fear of FEMA says, "Hope one day you'll review the best Michael Keaton movie, Johnny Dangerously. Thanks for the great stream." I don't think I've seen that one actually.
Oh,
Johnny Dangerously.
It's sort of like Airplane or Naked Gun and Young Frankenstein. It's insane. It's kind of making fun of mobster movies to a degree. Back when those parody films were actually funny.
Yeah, quite cool. Yeah, when you can actually make funny comedies.
Yeah. Like, it has ludicrous scenes. He works at a pet shop, and he's got one of those pricing guns, and he's putting pricing stickers on the puppies. Just, just random stuff like that happening in the film.
That's the next one. Will G's says the '98 thriller Pi was awesome. An entire movie based on a mathematical formula, truly gnarly ending with the power drill. You all check it out. Pi. Okay.
I have seen that. I had a brother-in-law that made me watch that. That I don't know what to think of that movie, to be honest. I won't say it's bad by any means, but man, that don't have distractions during that movie because you need to focus.
Yeah. Here's a good one. A few people have brought this up to me in the past. Enemy Mine. Yeah, that's a great one with is it Louis Gossett Jr. and
Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid. That's the one. Yeah.
And that big nose guy from Blade Runner. I can't think of his name just now. He was one of the Sense that got terminated by Harrison Ford.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's in that too.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember that being a really good movie. It's like a survival movie almost. Like they're two enemies that are stranded on a planet together, and they gradually they learn to work together. And it was a good film. I liked it.
That had a lot of good small things in it too, like Dennis Quaid's character learning as much of the Drax language as the Drac learning the human language, because you always ask that in these movies. How come everybody speaks English? Well, in that movie, there's quite a bit of Drac speaking, and it makes sense. Why wouldn't you learn the language of the only other person on the planet, as far as you know?
Yeah, what is the thing that he teaches them? It's like, if at first you don't succeed, try and try again. It's like, where'd you get that from? It's like Mickey Mouse.
And later on, he gets mad at him. Your Mickey Mouse is one big stupid dope.
Yeah. I love when Dennis Quaid tries to build like a shelter as well, and he's like, "What do you think of this?" And the guy just goes, "Shit." He's like, "What do you mean shit?" He's like, "Not solid." He's like, "What do you mean it's not solid? It's perfect." The guy just like pushes it, and the whole thing falls over.
Apparently, Lou Gossett Jr. He created that sound himself and that way of talking. He does it at cons for people, but he invented that whole and all that stuff.
Oh, he's a great actor. I love that guy. He's been in so many movies back in the 80s and 90s.
He's legitimately one of the reasons I love the Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie. His role in that, and then his relationship with Dolph Lundgren. I love that movie.
Yeah. Samuel Eddy says, talking of westerns, one movie I know you would enjoy reviewing would be The Three Amigos. Oh, that was a great little comedy back in the day. Roger Positelio says, great video on Invincible Drinker. The show is a needed breath of fresh air. Speaking of which, have you seen Doom Patrol? It's very much worth a watch. I haven't seen Doom Patrol, no, but I loved Invincible. It was just exactly what I needed when it came to superhero stuff.
I actually sent you something on that, Critical, because you always bring up Brendan Fraser, and I got a review of that on my channel. I've only seen the first season. That show is amazing. Doom Patrol is, at least the first season. I don't know if it goes off the rails, but season one, like this gentleman just said, or person, I guess I don't know the gender, but whoever just posted that, I'm with him. Everybody should watch that first season. It's phenomenal. Timothy Dalton is amazing. I cannot praise that first season enough. It's incredible.
Nice. No, that sounds all right to me. Like, I need to give that a look. Monkey Drawers says, hey drinker, greetings, Cain. Here's a little bit of God. Cheers. Thanks, man. Stephen Otten, cheers, drinker and CainCrow. Most people don't know that John Carpenter did win an Oscar in 1970 for best live-action short film. I didn't fucking know that. No.
Did you know that They Live got 4 nominations?
Really?
Yeah, not obviously an Oscar or an Emmy, but like the sci-fi show, it got nominated for best sci-fi movie that year.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's well deserved then, at least.
Yeah.
John Hallstrom says, I was so blown away by They Live that I walked through a glass door on the way out of the theatre and had to visit an emergency room to get What the fuck? Mean, man, I've been blown away by things, but not that bad. It's Somatic 101 says, good on you lads from Canada. Much love. Keep it up. Thanks, mate. Love Canadians. They're so damn nice. Jonas Larson says, drinker, when will you review Jolt for some proper British chav representation? You've got to have the chavs. So I know from your point of view, man, you probably wonder what the hell a chav is. It's like, what can I describe it as? It's like our version of white trash.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, like just they wear like they tend to wear like designer clothes, but like they're all cheap as fuck. I don't know how to describe it, but like yeah, it's kind of uniquely British, but yeah, it's kind of our equivalent of white trash, really, in our country.
Fantastic.
Chavtastic.
Fantastic. There we go.
Yeah, the chicken Little Britain. Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
Like they all wear tracksuits pretty much. What's the next one here? Chuck Grable says, "What about the Punisher TV show? I thought that was a great show. Yeah, I'm biased towards it because I'm a vet. Yeah, the Punisher one was good actually. I'll give that its due. Out of all of the Marvel TV shows, Daredevil and Punisher were great. I think season 2 of Punisher was a bit shit though. It just felt like, yeah, they were spinning out the characters a bit too much. Especially, and I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy that he totally fucked up in the end of the first season, which is like one of the most brutal fight scenes I've ever seen. The Punisher just like slams this guy's face into a mirror and grinds it away, like right up against it.
Was he supposed to become Jigsaw? Is that why he did that?
That's it exactly. Okay. Yeah, but instead of like being horribly scarred, he's just got a couple of little ones on one side, and like he's still a total pretty boy. So it's like, yeah, a bit of a cop out.
That's something you'll love about Doom Patrol. Is Brendan Fraser? You almost never see him. This guy in bandages, which is Matt Bomer, who dude is gorgeous, but he doesn't show his face for well over 80% of the movie, and you know that they wanted his pretty face, and they really sell the characters rather than the actors. You know, I didn't dislike the Punisher, but I'm also biased in that I don't like John Bernthal very much.
Oh,
and
really?
I don't hate the guy, but I don't care for him. And when he was cast as Punisher, and he did do a respectable job, I cannot deny that. But I just wanted somebody, even Thomas Jane, who I loved. I just feel like the Punisher should be like Dolph Lundgren. He should be this ginormous man. And I didn't want the Punisher personally to be an arc. And I got tired of the guy with the computers always helping him and whatnot. I always thought it should be an anthology show, like everything you've ever seen in the news where a criminal got away or somebody got away with something, or like Black Widow. How great would that have been to end with her letting her mom get away with all the stuff she's been doing for decades just to get blown away by the Punisher in the last scene? You know?
I mean, yeah, like I think the Punisher, like I say, was let down a little bit by bad scripts. I think as a character, though, he was quite good. And I personally, I like Bernthal's performance. I thought he was like, he's got the rage and the fury inside him, and I think he brings that forward really well. Like he's the kind of guy, he doesn't fight particularly technical or smart or anything, but he's just an absolutely hard bastard, like who can just get shot and beaten up and stabbed, and you just keep going.
I think
I give a shit, and I think there's great scenes in particularly Daredevil where he's got to like break out of prison and stuff, and it's just done as one like awesome continuous take where he just devastates everything in front of him, and it's great to watch.
I had to get Shane from Walking Dead out of my head is what I had to do. Yeah, and it was too soon. Like I think I might enjoy it even more on a rewatch now, because I've given up on Walking Dead a long time ago. Plus Shane died a long time ago, but it was so close, and Shane kind of ruined John Bernthal for me for a little while.
Yeah, I think you kind of get associated with that role, but like I think he did a good job as the Punisher. I would
just like to see him in an anthology series. Like I'd love to see him in a new season, even with John Bernthal again, but just taking out random criminals. Like one of my favorite scenes is the child pornographer in the pawn shop. It's not part of the story. He's just buying some stuff. When he finds out that the guy's a child pornographer, locks the door, picks up a sledgehammer, and you're just like, well, that guy's dead, And I'd like to see more of that, just because there's more than just the mob or whatever. I just would like to have seen Punisher just taking out different criminals.
I think that's the problem you have in a TV show. You need kind of some kind of overarching story to tie it all together. And I don't know if that's just how they like to structure these shows now.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it doesn't matter too much because they're just rebooting the whole thing anyway, and we'll get some
Right.
like weird, sanitized, watered down version of the Punisher at some point. Like, it'll be
Yeah.
shit probably.
I'm really worried about Punisher and Blade. And
Yeah.
I love the actor that's going to play Blade, but I just don't know if they're going to give him anything to work with.
Yeah, I very much agree. He's got the look for sure. I still think Wesley Snipes could probably do it. Like
Oh
the
yeah,
dude
Wesley
just
Snipes
decided.
hasn't aged a day.
Yeah, he got to like 2005 and basically decided to stop aging, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved the Blade movies, even though the third one was weak.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was still great, and yeah, hopefully they do something good with it. But I don't have much faith. Chris Alver here says, "Please date my aunt. I need a new uncle." Well, the drinker will provide. The one I got drinks, but isn't as funny or insightful as you. Kaz says, terrified for The Matrix 4. Just realized the Wachowski brothers are now the Wachowski sisters. Yes, they are indeed. Worried of politics and LGBT plus Q hashtag pound sign dollar whatever shenanigans. Yeah, you should be. Mr. Tickle Trunk says, from what I read, CainCrow described the original Aliens versus Predator script, I think. No dialogue, just a group of them surviving on a planet as coming-of-age ritual. Okay, so that was how it was meant to be originally. Dirty Nerdy says, Star Trek Picard new trailer, what do you think? I haven't even fucking seen it. That's how uninterested I am in Star Trek Picard.
Yeah.
I don't even care. Guy Thomas says, happy to provide you with more information about They Live being the most influential film to UK alternative bands ever. John Bonham is the most sampled drummer. They Live is the most used artwork. Wow, cool. Lord Lazenby says, hail gents, thoughts on Kurt Russell's sci-fi Soldier? I've always dug it and read that it takes place in the Blade Runner universe. Cheers. Well, it's funny you should mention that, Lord Lazenby, because I've already done a happy hour stream on it with Danquish. So if you look on my second channel, Critical Drinker After Hours, there's a happy hour where we spend a couple hours talking about Soldier. So it's all there. Yeah, we generally liked it. It's definitely got some shortcomings with the special effects, but Kurt Russell's great in it.
Soldier is underappreciated, and it is one of the best PTSD performances I've ever seen. His performance as a truly damaged because of what he went through for the training and the wars and everything is phenomenal. And I like those movies that have a big beginning and then a really quiet middle and then a really big ending again. And it just, Kurt Russell, man, that movie would have been those are the kind of movies I think deserve awards. I mean, how easy is it to play a guy who falls in love with a girl and they have a hard time and they get together at the end? And how hard is it to play a space marine stranded on a random planet that's about to get wiped out and make that believable? I think he could have got an award for the performance in that movie. I love Soldier.
I mean, he, this is kind of what we talked about when we were discussing the movie, is that he's got very little dialogue, and so he has to convey a huge amount just through his expressions and his particularly his eyes. Like Kurt Russell, like the actress in this movie, got really intense blue eyes, and so he can just whatever thing is happening to him, he can convey like anger, pain, guilt, hurt, like all of it just through how he looks, and that's a pretty impressive skill for an actor. And I think he spent about 18 months getting in shape for this role, just like bulking up.
He was fit. And not ripped, though, which I actually kind of like, too. I mean, I love the ripped guys looking like freaking gods and everything, but he was fit without being completely chiseled.
Yeah, he was just a big guy. Looked like a soldier, basically.
Plus, you don't get to see Jason Scott Lee that often either, and he was good in that.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Good old Gary Busey.
He's got one of the best lines as well. Like I quoted this before. It's like, when you want to put a nail into a piece of wood, you don't need to do anything fancy. Just take a goddamn hammer and hit the son of a bitch until it's in.
Right.
Great advice for life. What's this? A female Punisher would just talk people down in hallways, lashing them with their tongue. Yeah. And they would talk about their emotions as they go.
And tell you how everything you've done is your own fault.
Yeah. Gary Busey line, a fucking alien. What's the next one? Dylan Smith says, if you want to see young Willem Dafoe, go see Streets of Fire. Oh, Christ, that's an old one. Apparently, it was shot before his 45-year-old transformation. It also stars a 17-year-old Diane Lane.
You had me at Diane Lane.
I know, it blows my mind that she was in Judge Dredd as Hershey.
Judge Hershey,
absolutely hot as fuck.
She's so amazing. Yeah, you can't beat her in that blue lycra.
Yes, but it's a shame for her because I think they really aged her up as much as possible to play Martha Kent.
Yeah,
in the Superman movies because she's not that old in real life.
And especially if you see her in a different movie, she's like 20 years younger than she is in Batman vs. Superman or something. You're like, oh man, Diane Lane is still gorgeous.
Yeah, it's just just dye her hair gray and, put a few fake wrinkles on her and you're good to go. Crude Mutant says, it came in late, but one of my top 10 movies. Hail Drinker, I just want a pair of Hoffman lenses. Well, don't we all? Andrew Bomer says, once again recommended Cemetery Man. Dark humor, zombies, and breasts. What could be better? Well, truly, you've got me sold, man. Cemetery Man. So I'll need to watch that. You had me at breasts, really. MG says, have you seen Anna and the Apocalypse? Fun comedy horror musical. Pretty fun watch. I haven't seen that one, I'm afraid. No. Guy Thomas, by the way, V for Vendetta is currently on sale. I think it's aged incredibly well. Yeah, it really fucking has. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for you reviewing it. Don't worry, I will, because it's a very interesting movie.
That's another good one that hits me in a personal place, is I like that he wears the mask the whole movie.
Yes.
Why be in a superhero film or whatever else if you're not going to wear the freaking mask? It just drives me crazy.
Yeah. No, 100% agree. Don Chiki says, speaking of TV shows, when will you review the A-Team Drinker? Yeah. Classic.
Oh, I'll come back for that one. See, that's what I'm talking about. Punisher should be like the A-Team. Somebody has a trouble, Punisher comes in, shoots a whole bunch of people, and goes, I got to get out before the authorities get here, and leaves.
Yeah. This is the thing, we're not so into episodic storytelling now in our TV shows. It's all big, season-long arcs. And it's a shame because I quite like episodic. It gives writers much more freedom to do things. Andre Jones says, I made it before you guys ended. I'm here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out bubblegum. Yeah, perfect. Also from Andre Jones, also CainCrow, I have the same poster of Nuka Girl on my wall.
Yeah, well, what I did was Critical hit me up. I'm actually in the middle of moving, so forgive this paint and whatnot. So I actually unpacked all this stuff to throw it on the wall and in the background. And as soon as this is over, it has to go back in a box because I'm moving. I got three Fallout posters. I've got this Nuka Girl, and then I've got the one in the red, and then I've got the Wasteland Workbench poster that will all be up in my new room at my new place.
Ah, nice one. Okay. I must admit, when the wall behind you, I thought that was some kind of intentional thing where you got the blue and the white there. I was like, oh, it's a poster or something that's making that happen.
Well, good, because my brother-in-law who repaired it, he's like, yeah, tell everybody that I suck. I don't get my jobs done. I'm like, it's fine, buddy. It's fine, man.
What's this next one here? Dan Piper says, have you seen the 1985 film Enemy Mine? Yeah, we have. We were just talking about it there. Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr. Brilliant movie. Just really nice little sci-fi movie. All right. I think we made it to the end. This question here, as we were talking about earlier with Matrix 4, man, I'm not convinced we need another Matrix movie. The first three, you could argue that really the first one was the best, and the other two weren't even really needed. Matrix 3 was just dumb as fuck. Matrix 2 was just pretentious. It was a hell of a lot of people saying really complex dialogue with lots of big complex words in it that didn't really tell you anything extra. But I just don't know what they can add to it at this point.
Yeah, I think they're just going to rehash it and probably start being irritating with content that's been put in movies recently. I promised you I wouldn't go into it too much. So.
Yeah,
but
I know what you mean. It's going to go woke.
The message.
especially in what the Wachowski entities are now. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
guarantee that it'll go down that road.
Yeah.
I just like my only hope is like Keanu Reeves just being Keanu Reeves and being awesome. Like that's what I hope.
Right. I'm more excited for John Wick 4, and I'm not even sure we need another one of those, but I'm more excited for John Wick 4 than Matrix 4.
Yeah, I mean the John Wick 3 was a little bit spotty, but like generally they're just great fun. Like great action movies, great action scenes. And yeah, just those long continuous battle scenes, they're awesome to do.
Well, when you put Halle Berry in something, it usually comes down a little bit. She's gorgeous, but she's a terrible actress and kind of an obnoxious person.
I don't know much about her in real life, but yeah, I just remember her from that Hugh Jackman movie, Swordfish, where she.
I love Swordfish, and yes, I know.
Just for that scene.
Well,
she's gorgeous back then, man. Beautiful.
The worst of the Pierce Brosnan movies, because he's my favorite Bond, is that fourth one, and it was apparently so liked and whatnot that she was being given a spinoff, which, believe it or not, they weren't going to make her Bond. They were going to give her a spinoff, the way you're supposed to do that. But she negotiated herself out of a contract because of her ego and how much money and everything she wanted. And they were like, well, we're not, you're not Pierce Brosnan, you're not Sylvester Stallone, you're not Harrison Ford. We're not going to give you this large of a paycheck. We're taking a gamble, but we're going to give you your own movie. And nothing ever came of it because of that.
And then she did Catwoman instead.
Right? Yeah. Congratulations on the career trajectory there.
Yeah. The ending scene in Punisher season 2 would have been better than the entire show. Yeah, God. Yeah. Damn, that was good. Yeah. I think we got to the end of all the super chats, so we made it through. Man, like what I'm going to do, because CainCrow, I just want to thank you, man, for coming on tonight with this. I'm posting a link to CainCrow's channel on here because he is, in fact, a YouTuber and he does movie reviews. You've done some pretty in-depth analysis. You've done like female action heroes. What's some of the other stuff you've done, man?
Mostly, I really only got started a few months ago. I really should have got started at the beginning of 2020 for reasons. Everybody was home, but I didn't. But I was enjoying your channel and other people like you because I don't like this narrative that everybody's racist, that we don't like diverse casts, that we don't like women heroes. And so I didn't mean to make it that long. It's a long video, but I made this thing, and I went back to black and white westerns. I covered Gone with the Wind and Wizard of Oz, two of the biggest movies in cinematic history that star women. Now, they're not action films, but those are, and then I just covered Charlie's Angels, and you're allowed to say, hey, this movie with a female hero sucks without being sexist. You're allowed to say this diverse cast film sucks because it's a bad movie. When Rush Hour was a Chinese man and a black man, and it was the biggest opening in that month ever. It set records. Just because you don't like a movie that has this, that, or the other, it doesn't make one sexist or racist or anything else, because sometimes movies just suck. Arnold and Stallone, I love them, but they've both made movies that they sucked. But I'm allowed to say that because they're white guys, So I just wanted to make a video that I'm like, no, and that's why I say that new movie, The Protege, with Maggie Q, that's how you do a female action-led movie. That movie is great. That's everything it should be. And it's not breaking any new ground. It's a revenge flick. It follows some pretty similar beats. But her and Michael Keaton, they make an hour and a half of just fun entertainment.
Yeah. No, I think that's what all of us probably watching this want to get back to, is like good, well-written stories that feel balanced and they're just about, providing entertainment and telling a good story rather than trying to further the message. And so, what I'll do is I will put a link to CainCrow's channel on this description when I re-upload it, because I didn't know about it before we did this stream, so I didn't have time to set it up. But please subscribe to him because it's great to give these channels a chance to like grow and put forward this stuff. But yeah, man, I just wanted to say from me, like, I appreciate you coming on tonight. It's been great to talk to you about this movie.
No, I really appreciate it. As like I was saying, you got people that pull up the ladder behind them, and then you have people like you. Honestly, I wouldn't have been unreasonable for you to say, you seem nice, but I don't know you, man. You don't have your channel has like 6 videos, and I'm trying to do stuff with, and so I appreciate it. This was I'm geeking out like I would be if I was actually talking to a Roddy Piper or somebody. This was a big thing for me, and I hope that if the chat doesn't mind and you don't mind, that in a few weeks or months, because I know you do this with a lot of people, that maybe you'll have me back and we'll do another one.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. It's been great. Like you've been great, like talking to you tonight, and as I can tell from this film, you've got good taste in movies. So yeah,
I have amazing taste in movies. Best Batman right there.
Yeah, Keaton.
In fact, that's actually the point of my channel. Is I will review some new movies as they come out, but only a few. I have a section called Midnight Matinees. Back when it was cool to go to the movies at 2 a.m, and I'm trying to bring up movies from at least 20, if not 30 and 40 years ago that maybe people haven't heard of. That they're like, movies suck today. I'm not enjoying myself. Hey, how about They Live? Have you seen that? It's from 1988. You should really check this out. Here's why. I hope you enjoy it. That kind of review.
No, I totally agree with that, and that's partly why I've got my second channel where I've done like a lot of older movies there, where it's like, maybe ones that people wouldn't have given a chance before, or they were a little bit before their time. And it makes me happy when people say, yeah, I probably wouldn't have bothered with this otherwise, but like I gave it a try because you did your review on it, and I really enjoyed it. It's great. It's like, it's a whole generation of people that like get to appreciate the movies that we saw, and it makes you realize like there was a whole back catalog of hundreds of films that are just fantastic experiences, just waiting for people to enjoy.
And some of them will get turned off because, if I remember rightly, Soldier got pretty bad reviews. It wasn't well received, and it's like, no, ignore all that stuff. That's a great movie. Definitely watch Soldier. That's top Kurt Russell. That's a fantastic film.
Yeah.
And I do use that term a lot. My nephew makes fun of me. He's like, you tell me every movie we're going to watch is great, and I'm like, nephew, I've seen 10,000 movies. Literally, I've seen good 7,000 to 8,000 to 10,000 movies. So if I give you 150 movies, that's out of 200. That's not out of 500. That's out of thousands of movies. I'm not going to give you one and go, this is horrible, but you should watch it because you should suffer like I did. So I do go on a little bit, and I have different levels of what's great. You have Casablanca great, and you have They Live great, but they're still both great.
Yeah, ultimately, if it's a movie that entertains you, then it's doing something right.
Yeah, that's right.
Like you say, they definitely do it in different ways, and there's levels to it. But you can just appreciate movies like this for what they are, and I think that there's something really special in that. And yeah, look at us, like we've never met each other before. We come from different parts of the world, but like we've both seen this movie, and we can talk about it, and we've had the same experience. That's great. That's what movies should be about.
Movies should absolutely bring people together. I mean, that was the beauty I heard when Rush Hour came out. They were like, look at all these white people, black people, and Asians all just crowding into the theater, just enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
That's what it should be about. It shouldn't be divisive. It shouldn't be making people fight because of agendas and messages. And it's not difficult. People want to forget life. They don't want to be hammered with it.
No, absolutely. Anyway, man, well, it's been a real pleasure, and it's been great for all the people in chat that have joined us for this. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been a blast talking about this movie. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for all the super chats. And yeah, we're going to finish up there. So that is all we've got for today. So we're going to go away.